She had a heart of gold. Oh, why did such a lady have to die? Have to die! Joan, come back, Joan!
She rises from the dead. As you might have noticed, I'm shamelessly promoting the idea of having your own celebration of life. I want you guys to do this too, with your body present, still breathing. I'm using humor and satire to get you to think outside the box, so to speak. Now, my funeral might seem somewhat premature, but living funerals are an idea whose time has come, and I am shamelessly marketing the idea. This is a party, and I want to get serious for a few minutes first. I want to remind you that we, those of us in this room looking around, okay, we have all seen a number of liberation movements. There was women, blacks, gays, you name it. And now it's liberation for people who are dying. What do people who are dying need to be liberated from? From unnecessary fear. There is a growing movement to approach death consciously, the word is conscious, dying consciously, by making your own choices about the when, where, and how you're going to do it. Right up front, I want you to know that we must be honest with death. I've known the heartache of my own sorrow and bereavement many times over. As a humanist chaplain, I've been present with dying people and grieving families, shouldering heavy burdens, physical and emotional. Mired in complexity and confusion, much of it unnecessary, absolutely unnecessary. I recognize that not everyone wants to die consciously, fully aware, and all of that. However, I want to make sure that you think seriously about giving yourself a celebration, even something so small as a gathering of 2 or 3 people over a cup of tea, but do something. I began presiding over funerals for people who were really dead in 1977. I've tried to put together the right combination of words and music for them, but all I had to work with was the stories that people told me about them. And then I've been fortunate to preside over eulogies for people who told me themselves ahead of time what they wanted in terms of music and setting and other details, what they wanted people to eat, what kind of jokes they wanted to be told. And then, but those guests, though, those are 2 kinds of post-mortem funerals. And guests at both those kinds of funerals, when people were really dead, always tell me the deceased would have appreciated the words that were said. So I've always said, yeah, we should have our funerals while we're alive. And I just kind of threw it away. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, yeah, I got to do this for myself, don't I? So what better time to do it than my 80th birthday? People who have held their celebrations when their death was imminent, they knew that it was coming pretty soon. They have registered a depth of human connection that they had never felt before. They've known people in a deeper way than they had ever known them before. One notoriously unsmiling, bitter, and grumpy guy had a bash. He called it a F the world, I want to get off bash. And he was really, he was just kind of a down in the mouth kind of guy. But during that service, his defenses absolutely went down, and he softened up, and he smiled. And I didn't see that family again until they called me to come back and do the graveside ritual for interment. And at that point, they assured me that he had stayed much happier after that service for the last few months of his life. Think about it. I did a surprise pre-mortem. For a quiet woman. She was withdrawn and essentially a recluse. She thought herself, she told me, she was unattractive and stupid. She had been diagnosed with an incurable cancer. Her friends and family told her about the many wonderful things she had done and spoke of her wonderful attributes, and she learned to think of herself in a new way. And her cancer went into a remission that amazed her doctors. So I am recommending this, definitely recommending this, okay? Now, if you don't want to celebrate your life prior to your death, I hope you have let your future mourners know what kind of event you do want when the time comes. Many folks dismiss this whole thing. Let them do whatever they want or nothing. I don't care. I'm not convinced that they don't care, nor am I convinced that they have considered the feelings of those who will be left behind. I want you guys to go home today thinking much more lightly about death. That's why the humor. Check out the jokes all over the place. Think more lightly about it. It doesn't have to be so heavy. I want you to go home, and you know, it can come with a bang, literally, these days. So I want you to go home and plan. I want you to plan. And I want you to get prepared, and I want you to enjoy getting prepared so that you can rest in peace. Think about it. Resting in peace while you're still alive. Think about it. Think about it. Put your legal and business affairs to rest, and the business of managing your body around and after the time of death. Get that handled. And then there's the psychological, spiritual business. Here again, it's never too soon. Even if you decide against a pre-mortem event, review your life story. If not by remembering it with fondness, at least making peace with it and setting it to rest. Your life review might just be the push that you need in order to settle unresolved interpersonal issues. If you're like me,
she has risen! All right, I guess it's my turn. I'm going to sing a little song that I stole from Old Blue Eyes and change the words. And a couple of things you got to know about the song and the lyrics is when we were really little and she would go out to cocktail parties and leave us alone with a babysitter, Heidi How, oh Heidi How. She would always put on a lot of lipstick and put a big kiss around our belly buttons. Call it kissing our middle. By the time she was done, she looked like a clown. She had to go wipe it all off and put it back on again before she actually went out. And just like a lot of good mothers do when their sons and daughters won't eat, they say, okay, little doggies. They put it on the floor and you eat like the little doggies do. She did that. But one of the most infamous things was we knew when dinner was ready when the garlic bread burnt. Nobody else out there does that, right? We always call it Tony bread. Anyway, those are the three things that I wanted to clue you in on before. I remember Mom, when I was little, she would sing me songs and kiss my middle, serve dinner on the floor like little doggies do. I remember Mom, As I grew older, she taught me right from wrong. Cried on her shoulder, to me she was so strong. Oh, I remember Mom. I remember Mom. Burning the garlic bread, I remember Mom. Through all the tears we shed, how could she be mine? Makes everything so fine. She's love and peace and harmony. She's all the world and more to me. Oh, I'll remember Mom. As I grow older, I will sing her songs. And when it's colder, I will keep her warm with love from in my heart. Doobie, 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 doo.
It's pretty good. You can rise from the dead twice. Third time is the charm. I want to introduce the person that I have selected as a celebrant to preside over my pre-mortem funeral. The redoubtable Dick Park. Why Dick Park? Not just because he's rescued me from myself many times at the Unitarian Universalist Church, where I mess up things from time to time. I bumble around. Not just because of my recommendation that I move here literally over the hill to my idyllic little tin house, but because he's the kind of person I would trust with my life, and I might just have to do that today, having been told what I've been told, what people are going to say.
Thank you, Joan. Now I have to completely change what I was going to say about you. Yes, I am Dick Park. I am a retired social worker, and I must admit, I am a church addict. I go to church, I'm involved in church most of my life in all phases of church. I'm wearing a stole, which many clergymen would wear in the pulpit. This particular one was designed by a graduate of the Starr King School for the Ministry, the UU Seminary over at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. I am proud to wear it because it was presented to me after serving 9 years on the Board of Trustees, 2 of those years as president of the Board of Trustees. So it makes me more official, and it makes more what I do from here more official, if I can remember what I'm supposed to do from here. So, welcome to the ritual portion of Joan's landmark milestone 80th birthday and pre-mortem celebration of life. On to the funeral. She was going to lie in state in the coffin, but told that she'd have to play dead and keep her mouth shut. She decided to sit in state instead, while we survivors celebrate her life. And if you so desire, you can ask her questions when you get a chance to get to the microphone. Or if you have things that you would like to say but don't want to say them publicly, over on the table over here, there are cards and envelopes. You can write on the card, put it in the envelope, seal it, and she'll burn it later. No, she'll read it later. We begin this eulogy section of the event with a hymn. The words are in your printed program. The song came from a 1960 movie called Advance to the Rear. This is the last movie that Joan saw with her mother. One of the stars was Joan Blondell, one of her mother's favorite actresses, who, along with Joan Crawford, provided our Joan with her name. The hymn, you guessed, is about today. Please stand in body or spirit, and Sally, with her harp, will lead us in the introduction.
Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that was mine today.
In the early, was it 15th century, 16th, the first place in the world, well, outside of India, of course, but in the Western world, where there was actually freedom of religion because in those days the bigwigs of a religion would argue about their different principles, and the Unitarians won, and the king said, "This country shall now all be Unitarians. Everybody's going to be Unitarian." And the Unitarians said, "Oh, wait a minute, King. Unitarians don't do it that way. People have a choice of what from their heart they understand or they relate to, and so on." So and I met Joan through the church, and I thank you. I thank the church so much for having given me Joan and having Joan be in our community. And then underneath it, I have Yellow, Standing on the Side of Love, which is a program that Joan was so instrumental in promoting at our church. And so I thank you, Joan, getting all of us working towards standing on the side of love.
And she has that shirt because it was awarded to her. She won the Side of Love award one year. And I have a shirt like that. I just didn't wear it today. I won the award. And Mike's and Dick, that's his name, and Dick's beloved, beautiful wife, Marge, won that award. Very special people, the Parks. We're glad to have you living here in this park.
So my question to Joan is, how much flirting did you do with my husband?
I did help him write his memoir. And he did have a pre-mortem funeral. Hey. You're wearing your shirt.
Well, enough of all this, how wonderful she is. I'm here to talk about the real Joan, the Joan who doesn't know any limits. I guess you're wondering why I'm so casually dressed today for such a serious and solemn occasion. Joan painted this shirt, and I'm wearing it to show just one of the many facets of her abilities. Her mother told her she couldn't paint a barn, the side of a barn. So what did she do a couple of years ago? She went into painting seriously. I have a beautiful painting in my house of a barn in a cubist kind of approach. You all know the stories, the homeless, the ukuleles, the guitars, the whatever. But I want to tell you there's one thing that Joan has not been able to master. There is one place where she has failed. And the best way I can tell it is to quote a poem by Kay Ryan. Every day I wake up and I say just one more try. And one more irretrievable day goes by. I can say, Uncle. I can say, Oops, I messed that up. I can say buckle. I can say ankle. Why won't I? Why won't I say uncle? Sorry to get the word out.
Just a quick reminder, this is a birthday celebration also. And Mom, thank you. You bore me.
You know, he told me. He told me that. One time we were having a telephone conversation, and he told me, he said, "You bore me." He told me that. And after that conversation, I really did a lot of soul searching. I bore him? I bore him? And he had to explain it to me several days later. I said, "You know, I'm so boring. How come I'm so boring?" He had to explain it to me. Thick, thick, thick.
Anyone else?
I know Joan from a Buddhist meditation group that I facilitate. I rent space at UUC. And I've never believed that she's really 80. But for someone who's 80 years young, given the enormous amount of experience she has, study that she's done, degrees that she's earned, the sons that she's bore, she's truly an amazing person, and although she thinks that she could learn a great deal from me and accords me lots of respect, what she doesn't know is that I learned from her because she is the embodiment of everything that I've been teaching for the last several years. And the highest compliment I could make of Joan is that she possesses something that in the Buddhist tradition we call beginner's mind. She truly has this open, innocent, undefended quality about her that's just open to life. And I salute you for that on your birthday and pre-mortem day.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart.
Is there anybody else that would like to share post-mortem happy birthday wishes to Joan Antonia Astorita? Well, I'd like to give you hope and a goal. It feels like she's in the room with us now. I can feel her. I sense a great relief. I got in the car this morning and I looked at a list of to-dos on her house. I guess. Oh, God. So if you have anything else to say to her, in the lobby there is a board that you can put a little note on there. And there's a note here, and there's always her answering machine, and there's always something very creative on her answering machine, the greeting. And there is somebody whom I consider my second mother, and you can stay there. I'm going to bring her the microphone. Her name is Barbara Williams. She's been in my life